there's a lot of really cool stuff that you can do with Airtable Rollup fields that you can't really find any documentation for anywhere. So I'll show you a few of those things. So first off, this is the Airtable reference, the like help docs for rollup fields. And as you can see, you get this list of these main aggregation formulas that you can use. These are the same things that kind of pop up as suggestions when you're typing in your aggregation formula, but there's a lot of things that you can do to modify these that they don't even tell you about, and you just have to somehow happen upon. All right, so the first thing that I'm going to do, just explain this base, like I made characters from popular TV shows and I tied them to the TV show that they belong to. So I have The Office, New Girl, and Friends, and then these are the characters from this table. I wanted to have a way of showing you some filtering, so I put a type of main character versus not main character. All right, so now to this one. The basic rollup field, what you would do is you would pick which field do you want to roll up. So like I just chose full name, and I used array join values. So that's a really popular one. Array join is right here. It says it joins all the values into a single comma separated string. Well, the first thing to notice about how it's actually doing this, if we kind of zoom in, it's putting a comma and then immediately starting the next one. So there's no space. So it's not very readable. Like it works for data, but if you wanted to insert this list into like an email or a document of some sort, it would look better if there was a space there. So what they don't tell you in the documentation is that you can make that space happen very easily. All right, so all we need to do, and I'll zoom out, all I need to do is I need to come in to the formula and put a comma after the values, put a little single quote, and put comma space. That's what I want to appear in between all of these. It's a comma by default, but now I have comma space. All right, so that's cool, right? Like that's helpful, but maybe you actually wanted to have space hyphen space. Now that's what we got. I mean, I don't know why, but you could have anything that you wanted appearing in between these, like anything at all. Okay. All right. So if we do nothing, we get the comma by default, but we can modify that comma. What about this one? If we did this slash and an N, I don't know the right terminology of like, I think that might be forward slash. And so look at what that does. That gives us a line break. That's super cool. I think if we did a comma and then that, yeah. So now we have the comma, but then also the line break. So there's just, sky's the limit. There's infinite ways that you could come in and do that. I do want to point out that, like if I switch this to just being the standard, and then I will duplicate this, I'm going to take it off of the tall view, put it back to short. And so this is array join values. And then this is also array join values, but here I'm going to do what I just did and hit save. And it doesn't look like it put them on separate lines, but if you expand it, you see that they're on separate lines. And if you change it out to a taller one, you see that they're on separate lines. So I just wouldn't want you to try it and be like, it doesn't work for me, right? And so it just doesn't appear when they're small, short ones very well. Okay, so the other thing I want to show you is that like when you start typing array, it's going to give you these as suggestions, or like if you started to type count, it's going to show you the different count ones as suggestions. It's basically going to show you these set of things as suggestions. So it feels right. It feels like you're allowed to use those because they're coming up as suggestions. It's like a hidden feature that you have to know that you could wrap this in any other formula that you want. But like, see how when I started typing upper, like we're used to like that kind of appearing as like show me up, but it doesn't appear. So you just have to know it. Sometimes if it's a more complicated one, like a date time format or something, and I'm like, wait, is there a underscore? But like, I'll have to literally open up a new column to like get it so I can copy and paste it in. But for something like upper, obviously that's really easy, and I can manage to remember that from my memory. And so what we have now is that we have all uppercase. I could also do it on this one and like still couple it with the line break, the comma line break. Or actually, no, we don't have a comma in there. Sorry, I'll put the comma and the line break. Okay. So you can also use other things like before the array join, you can put the array join inside of bigger formulas. So talking about that, there is also the use case for maybe you want to say, don't array join if a row meets a certain condition. So I just want to clarify that, like, if I wanted to have a list of only the active, not active, but like the main role characters, I can turn this on to conditionally pick which ones it rolls up from the characters table. And so I'll say where, no, not that, what type is main character. And so this was conditional in the sense that I'm picking and choosing which characters, which linked records to include in the rollup. But there's another type of condition that you might want to set. For me, this was because I had class dates that had values of like user reviews, essentially like student feedback. They would rate it from a 1 to a 10. And I was having where I was seeing errors on the dates that were in the future because there were no ratings yet. And so it was giving me a spit out of like an error. And I'm like, well, I don't want to see an error because it makes me feel like something's wrong. So what I did is I conditionally set inside of this line, I said, only do this roll up if, or actually, I think it was because it was giving me zeros. Like, and so it was like making it look like it was a 0 rating because there were none. I think that was it. So basically, what I can do is I can say, only do this roll up if, so let me get rid of that. I'll say if, and then I'll say, I'm gonna use a column I have. If status equals status 1. So all of them, it's not doing it. Let me turn on status. And if I change this to status 1, it's going to do it. If I change this to status 1, if I change this to status 2, it's not going to do it because it doesn't meet that condition. So it's kind of like still conditional, but it's a whole different ballgame, a whole different type of conditional that's related to this row on this table instead of conditional of which of the linked records you want to roll up.